Good morning. I think that's it. I think I'm live now. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Janet from Tribe Sober, and this morning I want to talk to you about avoiding the pitfalls of early sobriety. It's easy to get going on this sobriety lark, isn't it? But not quite so easy to keep going. I had a long and fairly hectic career in corporates and I loved it mostly. Now and again, it would all get a bit much, and I'd be stressed and I'd start dreaming about my retirement. And I had a very clear image of it. I thought, well, I'm going to live somewhere nice and hot and sunny. Here I am in South Africa, tick, and I'm going to sit out in my garden and I'm going to read my books and I'll drink my wine. Of course, I had this literal vision of me, with my book, and there'd always be a glass of wine next to me. But now that things have moved on and I understand a lot more about alcohol dependence and neuroscience, of course I realise that scenario would have been an absolute disaster. Not only would I have drunk myself to death, but I would have been really miserable. Because I now understand that human beings weren't designed to sit around and do nothing all day. Human beings need a project. It's just how our brains are wired. Having a project keeps us energized, it keeps us focused, and most importantly, it triggers our happy brain chemicals. So it keeps our mood elevated. I mean, just think back to our ancestors. You've got the cavemen there that wake up in the morning and, of course, they're hungry. So they go off hunting to find food. So they've got a project, they've got their thing to do, and the dopamine is triggered because they know they're looking forward to eating, and they know that they're going to reach their goal soon. So they go and they find some food and they eat the food, and of course, that makes them feel good. And then, lo and behold, a few hours later, they're hungry again. So they keep going. So our ancestors were very busy people, and that's not even mentioning getting the wood for the fires and finding, keeping safe, looking out for predators. They were always on the go. So my point is, we need a project. So let's relate this to sobriety now. When we decide that we're going to give up drinking and be sober, our brain registers that as a project, and our brain thinks, oh, okay, we've got a project here, and the brain feels quite excited. And that's why many of us are fortunate enough to experience what AA call the pink cloud. Early sobriety can be good. I'm talking about the first few weeks, especially if you join a community like Tribe Sober, because you've suddenly got all these new friends, and they're all talking to you and you can share your stories, and it's lovely, and connection is the opposite of addiction, so it's just what we need. So it's all a novelty to begin with. And you're enjoying life hangover free and your skin's looking better. And you start thinking, why didn't I do this years ago? It's really not as hard as I was expecting. But the problem is, after a couple of months, the kind of novelty wears off a little bit, doesn't it? And that's because your brain has registered that the project is completed because you're sober now. But of course, those of us who have been sober for a while, we know it takes at least a year to really, really feel secure in our sobriety and really experience the considerable benefits of being sober. That takes time. And that's why we feel very flat. We can feel flat in early sobriety. I mean, I personally did. I went through a few months of feeling very depressed between about month 4 and month 7, I think. And that was because back then I didn't understand all this. I didn't know anything about neuroscience. I just thought, oh, well, sobriety's a pretty dull place, and I suppose I'll just have to put up with it if I want to preserve my health, but I'm not going to enjoy it. So I just kind of plodded through. But now I understand that I didn't have to go through that miserable periods. So I'm trying to share with you something that will help you to avoid that. Because the danger of that period, that flat period, is that you start wondering if you've done the right thing. I know I did. I nearly fell off the wagon so many times. Because what's happening is your subconscious is getting restless without a project. It starts asking you questions like, well, was I really that bad? And well, yes, I did have that awful incident, but it's now fading, and maybe I was exaggerating and overreacting, and most dangerous of all, and you've probably all had this thought. Well, I've had a nice break now, so surely I can now moderate and just have a glass now and again because I understand so much more. I understand the dangers. So we have all these thoughts, all these temptations, and that's the most difficult time, in my opinion, because you still haven't experienced any real benefits. The novelty's wearing off and it's getting hard. And that's when you might just say, oh, fuck it, I'm having a glass of wine. That's why we call it the fuck it bucket. And this is why, this danger period is why thousands, millions of people spend years and years hopping on and off the wagon. And all that means is they're doing the hardest bit over and over again, because those first couple of months are difficult. Even if you are in a pink cloud, that's still difficult. And why would you want to keep doing that? The trick is to just power through that period, and then you'll get through to the other side. So what do we do? How can we help you to jump over that gap, between, I suppose I'm talking about 3 months sober and 6 months sober. So if you are just, starting out, then register your emotions, and if you start to feel a bit down, think, aha, I know what I need to do. I need a plan, because that's what you need. Your brain needs another project, because as far as your brain's concerned, you're sober now, so it's ticked that one off, so you've got to find another one. So what I've done is I've put together a plan for you. So here's my plan. Obviously, you might just want to take parts of this plan, or it might trigger your thinking for something similar, but I've just sketched out something for you. So here's my plan. Buy a lovely notebook, which is going to be your journal, your sobriety journal, and give it a name, because this journal is for your project. So give it a name, like my 1 year sober. That's a nice name for a project, isn't it? And write your why list on the very first page. Because when I ask people, when I'm coaching or doing workshops, I say, why do you want to get sober? And they always come out with really important reasons, to save their marriage, to be a better role model to their kids, to save their lives, serious health issues, some of them, to be better in their career, perhaps. I'll always remember one of my podcast guests saying to me, even if alcohol doesn't destroy you, it will always prevent you from reaching your potential. I think that's very true when we think about our careers. So you've got your notebook, you've given it a name, you've written your why reasons in the front. So I've got 7 points that I think you should address in your own individual way, of course. And when you put your plan together, break it down into manageable chunks. Say, okay, week 1, I'm going to focus on the first point, week 2, the second point. Just break it down, because our brain likes to, have achievable goals. And then when it achieves the goals, you get your happy brain triggered. That's why our trackers are so brilliant, because every time you have an alcohol-free day, you colour in a little square and you get a dopamine hit, and then you're ready to go on to the next day and do the next one. And those little squares obviously add up nicely and give you the big picture. Okay, so 7-point plan. So all I've done is created 7 points for you. So think about each of these and start thinking about what you can do to address each of these points. So, point one, reconfigure your life. If your routine is exactly the same now as it was when you were drinking, then you're always going to feel that you're missing out on something. So just shake it up a little bit. Even if you keep most of the same things there, try and do it at different times of the day. Get rewiring the pathways. For example, when you wake up in the morning, chances are you'll be waking up a little bit earlier than when you were drinking and certainly feeling better. So when you wake up, try meditating or try writing. I'm always recommending The Artist's Way book when she says, wake up and write your morning pages. Just do a brain dump, even if you throw it straight in the bin. It's so good for you. It really gets your creative juices flowing and triggers brain chemicals. So have a different routine in the morning. And perhaps, what I did is instead of opening a bottle of wine every evening at 6 o'clock, I went for a 1 hour walk listening to music, and it put me in a completely different frame of mind. Whereas normally when it got to 7:30, I'd consumed a bottle of wine and I was just kind of nodding off on the sofa. But I come back from my 1 hour walk by 7:30, and I feel great, and I'm up for doing something else. So make sure that you shake up your routine, reconfigure your life. So in your journal, start writing different kind of schedules and start experimenting. Try different things. I remember one of my emails, it's called Be a Scientist in Your Own Life. I like that. So just think about yourself as a scientist. You're observing your own life, your own feelings, and you're noting down everything. Just as scientists will do experiments and they'll write down their conclusions, that's what you're doing. So reconfigure your life. Point two, learn to manage your emotions. So as our lovely Lynette, I don't know if she's watching us from Mauritius, but recovery coach Lynette always says, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And, if we've been drinking for decades, this will be a real kind of novelty for us because we're not used to doing that. I was always chasing my emotions away when they came, if they weren't good emotions. So we have to learn to sit with them. But try and enjoy that process. Think of it as being present. My podcast guest last week, Susan Christina, I asked her what the benefit of sobriety was for her, the biggest benefit. And I remember she said, just being present. She said, feeling all the feels, being there for the ups and for the downs. Because as human beings, we're designed to experience the whole gamut of emotions. In spite of what Instagram might tell us, we're not here to be happy 24/7. So let's get real and let's get experiencing all of the emotions. And again, back to your journal, process them by writing about them. So every evening, or you might like to do this in the morning when you wake up, make sure that you're writing up your journal. Not only is this notebook for your plans, your schedules, the results of your experiment, being a scientist in your own life, but it's a daily journal. How do you feel today? Was it an easy day? Was it a difficult day? Because the joy of journaling is that as your journey progresses, you can look back and you think, oh yeah, that was so difficult. Week 3, I'm nearly through in the towel and here I am on month 6 and I feel amazing. Thank goodness I didn't. It just gives you the big picture. It gives you perspective. So reconfigure your life, manage your emotions. Point 3, I've already moved into this, keep perspective. Keep your eye on the big picture. And that's why our trackers are great, because even if you have a slip up, it's not the end of the world. It's not a reason just to give up. It's a bit like dieting. I remember when I used to be on diets, and if I'd, eaten the wrong thing or had a crazy meal out or something, the next day I'd think, oh, I might as well give up. I'm never going to get where I want to be. And that is not the thing to do. Just get right back on the bus, as we put it. And of course, write about your slip up in the journal. Analyze it. Be a scientist again. Why did it happen? What triggered it? Okay, that thing triggered it. Now, when that thing happens again, as it probably will, how are you going to deal with it? Have a plan, have a different strategy to deal with it. And just observe the sober stretches on your annual tracker, and they should be getting longer and longer. So point 4, discover your natural highs. So use your journal again for noting down some ideas. What kind of things could you explore? Because you should have more time now, you should have more money now that you're not drinking. So use that to embark on a journey of self-discovery, really. If you're kind of stuck for ideas, well, you can try coaching. I mean, just sitting with somebody who is listening to you actively will do wonders on your thinking. You'll be amazed at the ideas that you'll come out with. So don't forget, all Tribe Sober members have a free coaching session, and many people discover the joy of coaching, the magic, the power of coaching in that first session, and they go on to book more. So you can use coaching to stimulate some ideas. You can go, there's a website called meetup.com, and even if you don't want to go and meet people who have this interest, it's a brilliant thing to look at, to realize just how many amazing things people do, what kind of hobbies, what kind of things that they get up to. Because I always used to say that my hobby was socializing, but in fact I just meant drinking wine with my friends. But not everybody spends all their spare time doing that. Who knew? There's just endless things that we can be doing. So research, what are you going to try? Write your ideas, take a course, go on to udemy.com, and there's millions of courses on there, really affordable. I mean, neuroscience is an obvious one to take if you're interested in that field and you're embarking on this journey, because it can be extremely helpful to understand yourself better. Volunteer, here in South Africa, there's endless opportunities to try and help people that are less fortunate. Maybe travel, maybe now we can venture out of the country occasionally, or do something creative. We've got amazing examples in our community of people that have gone on to discover the joy of art, cooking, all sorts of things. So what gives you a natural high? Point 5, discover your go-to drinks. So again, this is an experiment. There's a huge selection of alcohol-free drinks out there. Those of us in South Africa are lucky to have Drink Nil, .coza, that will deliver drinks to your door. So, my suggestion would be once a month, just get a box of different things delivered. You can probably even say to these ladies who run it, because we know them quite well, you just say, oh, just, throw a selection in there, because I'm experimenting. And then when you get them, have a different one every evening at 6 o'clock, if that was your wine o'clock, and write in your journal. Give it a kind of grading system. Has it got 5 stars? Has it got 1 star? Is it disgusting? Is it fabulous? Make a decision, and then post a picture on our community Slack group. What do you think, guys? So experiment. Of course, we've got mocktails as well. Those of us in the tribe may have seen Mandy's mocktails. Fabulous. So just try everything that you can find, score them, and after a few months you'll have some very firm favourites that you're going to love as much as you used to love that Cabernet Sauvignon or Sauvignon Blanc. I could hardly remember my favourite wine for a moment then. That's scary. Okay, so you've got your go-to drinks, you've got your natural highs, you've got some perspective, you've reconfigured your life, and you've managed your emotions. So the last couple of points I'm suggesting are obviously exercise. I know in our tribe particularly, you're pretty good at exercising, but make sure, keep moving at least an hour a day. We've got to get outside. and move. You know, even if you're old like me, you at least can walk for an hour. So plan a fitness program in your journal. You know, if I've got a Fitbit and I, you know, note down my steps and how many calories I've used up and how much sleep I've had. Those kind of metrics are quite fun. They're quite motivating. So write all that down in your journal and note your progress, because this is what it's about. You know, even if you're only walking, you should be walking a little bit faster, a little bit further as the months go on. So keep moving, log your exercise, log your fitness progress. So point number 7, work your tribe. If you're not a member of Tribe Sober, then please, you know, check out tribesober.com and have a look at what we're up to, because I believe it's relatively easy to get through the sobriety thing on your own for the first couple of months. You know, you can use sheer willpower, although I believe we need to change our mindset about how we see drinking in order to make our sobriety sustainable. But you can white knuckle it for the first couple of months. But then when you get to this low period, that's when you really feel like, you know, throwing in the towel or going to the fuck it bucket. You know, that's when you need your tribe. You need a plan and you need your tribe. You need a community to keep you on track. You need a community that will understand where you're at, because for many of us, you know, our normal friends, husbands, they don't quite understand, you know, why we can't just stop at 2 glasses of wine. Why do we have to have 6? But if you join a tribe, you know, they're all been exactly where you have, so they'll understand you. And of course, we have people that are much further down the road with their sobriety. You know, I'm 6 years. We've got many people that are, you know, 3, 4, 6 years. So we can tell you, you know, that it really is worth hanging in there, because everything changes. And you need a tribe, because connection is the opposite of addiction. And early sobriety is also a great time to do a workshop to reinforce your motivation, pick up some new tools, and of course, meet some new sober buddies. So we've got a workshop coming up on November the 27th. All the details are on tribesober.com. So that's pretty much my 7-point plan to get you through the pitfalls of early sobriety, to help you to avoid that dreaded fuck it bucket. And what's nice is it'll keep you energized, it'll keep you motivated, and it'll get you through to that 6-month sober period. And that's when the real benefits start coming through. So then it becomes sustainable, because you think, hey, you know, I feel so good. There's no way I'm going back to feeling, you know, anxious, depressed, and hungover all the time. Why would I? And I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to this week's podcast yet. It came out at 10 o'clock this morning. But there's a young man that I'm interviewing on there, and he's lovely, and he gave up drinking because his girlfriend, who became his wife, said, you know, I love you, but I don't love who you become when you're drinking. So he gave up for her, and they got married. So, oh, that's so romantic. But what's magic about his story is he did it for her. And I mean, I get asked all the time, oh, my partner drinks too much, what do I do? And my usual answer is, well, you can't do anything until they decide they want to make a change. But in his case, he did it for her. He did it for love. But the interesting thing about this story is that a few months into his sobriety, he felt so great that he thought, well, I'm going to carry on being sober because I love it. And then, sadly, you know, there's an end to this romantic story. I think after about 5 years, they got divorced. But the one thing he didn't do is think, oh, right, well, she's gone, so I might as well start drinking. As he says in the podcast, I would not dream of going back to alcohol, because alcohol is only going to make my divorce even more traumatic and more, you know, sad and more difficult. There's no problem that alcohol won't make worse. So we need to remember that. So I think that's me now. So basically my message is, you know, if you get that low in sobriety, then it's a message that you need a plan. have a project, get the happy brain chemicals triggered. If you're interested in this happy brain stuff, then read Larissa Bruning's fabulous book, The Happy Brain, and we've got talks by her from when she came to our Zoom cafe. So get in touch with me if you want a copy of her free book or anything else from her. So I think that's me. 25 minutes. Okay, let me see who's there. Oh, my favourite bit now. Ooh, Lucy. Hi, Lucy. Haven't seen you for a bit. How lovely to see you. Merlene, yes, drink nil. They are great. And of course, if you're a member of Tribe Sober, you get a discount from Drink Nil. So the what's Merlene saying? Start taking your own AF drinks to restaurants. Yeah, I mean, restaurants, maybe they'll eventually get the message if we keep doing that. Exercise, work your tribe, be creative with mocktails. Hi, Mandy. Connection, the opposite. Yes. Oh, Merlene, this tribe will hook you and give you a new high. Yay. Workshops are great. Yeah. Yes, Merlene, we just live it, don't we? We don't preach. Can we watch this? Yes, hi Jenny. I think you're a new member, aren't you, Jenny? Yes, all of our Tribe Sober Facebook Lives are on our YouTube channel. So go to YouTube and search Tribe Sober. You'll find it there. Oh, there you go, Lucy. She's answered my questions. So Jenny, I hope you come to our Zoom cafe this afternoon. Hi Bernadette, I'm glad you liked my sober punk John. I must say I was quite taken with him. Great to listen to. Oh, 2 weeks into your sobriety. Okay, Goron, I think that's how I say your name. Well, you must join our tribe. You know, look, I promise you we'll make it easier for you and a lot of fun as well. So check us out, tribesober.com. Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see some of you, I hope, at the Zoom Cafe. If you're watching this and you're not a member and you'd like to come to the Zoom Cafe this afternoon, and we have a fabulous guest who's called Susan Christina, and she is busy rebranding Sobriety, so she's definitely worth listening to. And I'm going to go off now. Have a lovely day.